Okay, hi, I'm Amanda Fisk, and I'm about to open my envelope for the 340 final, my secret envelope. See, still sealed. Here we go. Okay, opening it up. It's kind of hard to open. Let's see. Okay, here we go. If I could just get that out. Okay, now, number one. Okay, segment one. You graduated 2 years ago from the local interpreter education program. Yay! Graduated, can't wait for that. You were a staff interpreter in high school. Cool. Okay. This is your second year at the same high school, but your first year with the students. So I'm thinking that I know the curriculum, but I'm anxious to meet a new person and see how my abilities match with them and if we'll be a good partnership. The consumer you work with is a 16-year-old girl who's been mainstream since 9th grade, so I'm thinking she has a lot of experience with interpreters, so she may be familiar with the process and a little bit easier to build a relationship with our repertoire. Prior to that, she was a student at the state deaf school, so she has a bye-bye approach to communication and education. Okay, so I'm thinking I have some experience with bilingual, bicultural because it's something that we covered in my education program and it's something I dealt with before. So I'm like, okay, this shouldn't be too difficult. This high school is in a district that has adopted the C signing exact English as the official interpreting language. Ooh, I'm a little nervous about that because I've been taught ASL, not C, and I don't have a lot of experience with signed exact English, so I'm a little bit nervous about that. And if she would prefer me to use that, or if she has any, experience, if she went to a deaf school, that probably means that she uses ASL. That's what I'm assuming, or thinking going into this situation. The Educational Interpreter Handbook mandates that interpretation in the classroom be spoken English to signing exact English. Okay, I'm a little bit nervous about that because that adds a factor in that I hadn't thought of before. Because I am not super familiar with signing exact English, and it is a lot different from my normal methods. Okay, what are my thoughts? Those are my thoughts. It's going to be a difficult transition for me. What would you do when the student appears to not be following the course? I would think, is it me, how I'm producing the signed exact English, or is it because she, is more familiar with ASL and that's the method that she uses as opposed to signed exact English? What would you do when the student appears to not be following the course? I would probably, approach her, and ask her if she's understanding me okay. Is there anything that I'm doing that she needs me to change? Is it because of certain signs I'm using or the way I'm producing them? And ask her kind of what can I do to help you understand what's going on in the classroom? Is it something that I'm doing? See, and go from there. Okay? That's number one. Okay. And two. Upside down. As a part of the student's IEP, she is permitted to have extended test time as accommodations. Okay, that's cool. During midterm week, you're asked to proctor and interpret the student's honors English exam. Okay, I'm thinking, I've taken honors English before, so it shouldn't be hard. You are directed to take the student to a conference room and administer the test. Okay. You are proctoring the test for the student. The student becomes visibly frustrated and makes a number of comments about her uncertainty to answer the questions. Okay. That would be difficult because it's a test she's supposed to be taken by herself, and I don't know if I can answer those questions for her without cheating, or if this is something that I can help her with without compromising the situation. Toward the middle of the exam, she expresses her frustration with you for not giving her the answers. She threatens to report you for being mean because you are different than her last interpreter who always helped her on exams while proctoring. My thoughts are, I don't know if that was an ethical choice. I'm also a little bit frightened that she threatened me with reporting me, so that's kind of scary, but I'm thinking that I'm right in my decision to not help her because I know for a fact that that would be cheating. So, yeah, what would I do? I would want to stand firm with my, like, you know what, I don't want to give you the answers, so that's my ethical choice because it crosses my professional and my own moral boundaries, so I would probably stand firm and not give her the answers and tell her to go ahead and take it up, and that I would like to go with her to talk to them in person. Okay. 2 and 3. Okay. The student's algebra class is divided into lecture and hands-on activities. During the hands-on activities, the instructor circulates around the room and assists students with their worksheets on their project. Okay. Well, this is good because it's different than just a lecture, so I'm probably with the student. So that's good. It's not just like I'm standing to the side. I'm in the group with her and we're using group dynamics, so it's different. The instructor asks you if you will check in with the deaf student and ensure that she understands the concepts they are covering. Okay, read this again because it seems okay. Would this be difficult because we don't have as good of a relationship because she wanted me to help her on her exam and maybe she wouldn't want me to, maybe she wouldn't give me answers or she wouldn't even talk to me because she was having difficulty in other subjects. Maybe I can't see if she understands because math is also not my strong point. What I would do is I would do what the teacher asked. I would ask her, do you understand what we're doing? Maybe ask the teacher if there's certain concepts that he wants me to ask her to make sure she understands and like relay that to her. So I do what the teacher asked because I feel that that would be the best choice. Yeah. Okay. So segment number 3. Okay. Number 4. Okay. During a break in the lounge, you and a colleague are discussing the student that you're working with. Thinking that I should be careful with that because of privacy. I'm wondering if it's okay to talk to this colleague because maybe she also interprets for her, so we're like bouncing back ideas on how to deal with her. Maybe this is the colleague that was helping her on her test, and maybe she can give me an answer as to why that would happen. If that's okay to discuss with her, I'd have to, I don't know, decide if that was okay. And I don't know, I don't think I'd bring that up right away, so wondering how much information I can give. So I would be talking about the student, but I wouldn't be going in depth unless this person has worked with me with a student, so then that would be different. This colleague has worked with her since she transferred to this high school. She interprets a couple of classes with the student this year as well. Okay, so she has a lot of experience with this student that I don't have because it's my first year working with her. So I would want maybe some advice on how to work with her, communicate maybe because she was having problems with in the first segment of understanding what I was saying, and with the algebra maybe I would ask if there's certain things that I can do to improve my signing exact English to help her understand what's going on. So yeah, I would be asking advice. You seek her advice about how to handle the interpretations in class. You're following the school policy of signing exact English interpretations, but the student does not seem to be following. Yeah, that's basically my problem because in every class it's the same thing. She doesn't understand. So yes, I would want my colleague's advice. I don't think that would be crossing an ethical line right there because it's asking for advice on a situation. It's like bouncing the ideas back and forth. The colleague responds, "Oh, I gave up on that policy a while ago. I just do what I know makes sense to her. I don't worry about the policy. The supervisor never comes to check in anyways." Ooh. That presents a dilemma because the colleague just told me what I needed to do to help the student understand, but it goes against the policy of the school I work for. And that's not something that's a little bit of a gray area, because that would be going against the institution that hired me and their policies. Because what if the supervisor happens to come in on the day and I decided to abandon the signed exact English and do ASL or something that she would understand, the student would better understand what I was saying, but I would get in trouble. So my thoughts are, this doesn't seem to be an ethical decision. That's more of a liberal than a conservative decision. So what would I do? It's a tough one, because in my head I would really want to help the student understand what's going on in class, because that's the reason I'm there. It's an education setting and she's there to learn, but it's also going against what the school wants me to do. So maybe finding that knowledge from my colleague that has worked with her for a while, maybe the colleague and I could go into the office and discuss with the person in charge, the signed exact English isn't working. Is it okay if I use that? But if the students are not understanding, maybe I could improvise a little, use some ASL. Would that be okay? Because that's the first step I would want to do, is make sure it's okay. Because I don't want to cross an ethical line and lose my job and have a black mark. I would want to help the student, but I would want to do it in the right way rather than I'm just going to do what I want kind of way. So I think that's what I would do. Okay, segment 4. Let's see, segment 5. Okay, the last one. Okay, there is an IEP meeting and the student is present. You are assigned to interpret for this IEP meeting since you are familiar with the student and interpret for a number of her classes. Okay, I'm a little nervous about this because I know this meeting, some stuff could come up that I am involved in and the student would probably want to talk about. And so I'm thinking I would rather be there on a level where I could contribute rather than interpret. But if there's nobody else available, I guess I should do it because I don't want the meeting not to happen. During the meeting, the student shares her frustrations with the neuro interpreter, me. She has this year that is not as helpful as her other interpreter and who doesn't make any sense, and that she misses content in those classes. I'm thinking that, that's not exactly what happened, but that is definitely putting in a way that does not make me look good, even though that's her version of what's happening, not mine. Well, the second part is, but not the first part. The teacher of the deaf asks for you to respond to these comments. What would I do? Well, first of all, I would have to remember that I'm in a professional setting and I can get upset, but not too upset. I need to control myself. I would be like, okay. And I would respond with, and I also wouldn't want to get the student in too much trouble. So I would probably go with not being as much help, because there are some situations that I am not so comfortable in with interpreting for her, because they're, for example, on a test, and she has to question what kind of questions can I answer without giving too much away. I would want the teacher there to interpret for the teacher, not her. And so I would try to bring in a specific scenario that kind of would happen in, but would, I don't know if that's making any sense, that would do that, because I don't want to get the student in too much trouble because it was just one incident. And I would also mention how I am using signed exact English, and that is not something that I have noticed her being able to understand and get the concept. And I have talked with other people that have worked with her, and they say that, yeah, signed exact English doesn't work for her. And they have given me suggestions, but I know that we're supposed to use signed exact English. So, yes, she has been having problems because I've been using signed exact English, and maybe not something that she's aware of. So maybe I would suggest some compromises or try to give input as to why this stuff would happen, and like proof, like this, she's not understanding this because signed exact English is not what she learned, and say that specifically this mode of getting information across is not helpful to the student. And that's kind of where I would go with this, like, we need to change this. And yes, I totally she is not getting this information, and this is why, not because of what she said, but because of this. So I think that's how I would go about it, is yes, I would agree with the student, but I would give my version of what happened as best I could. Well, getting to 15 minutes, so that's it. Bye.